Oh man, I've been thinking about my opening line and how to introduce a very interesting topic. And I'm thinking round stone rocks, round stone tools. Uh, Either way, this is the result of some phone calls, a lot of emails from you guys that are literally stymied over these round stones, rocks that you're finding in your fields. Um, I'm thinking about in high school being a 120-pound lineman, and the other team is handing the ball off to this 250-pound guy that's going to run the ball your way. So this is kind of like what I'm facing this morning. I'm taking on a challenging but really important issue, and that is, how do we know? How do we know? Most of you are nearly lifelong walkers, and you have an idea. But for all you people who are coming in that are like under 10 years of field walking, um, please receive this as an honorable name, and that's, I'm going to call you newbies, because you got much to learn. I've spent a lifetime, but I'm still learning like crazy. But you can be proud of that because we recognize you and we're grateful to have you part of this camaraderie. Round stone tools. And what I did, and I wrote some things down, and probably not a bad idea for you to like make a mental note. I'm too old to do a mental note. I got to write it down on sticky notes and put them on my mirror, on my dresser, uh, on my dashboard of my car. But either way, I think these are going to be really helpful when we deal with these round stones or these round rocks or these round tools. So where do we go from here? You just gotta jump in somewhere, and I think I started this off with the idea of being a little bit of subjectiveness, and that is the truth about field archaeology, or literally field archaeology, because there are things that are black and white, but most things are not quite black and white. Right, black and white. For example, if I pick up a notched arrowhead and held it up, said notched point, not a problem. But if I pick these up, and we've looked at these before, I found a few more in my collection. I still have more that I can pull out. But if we look at these in particular right here, we would say they're hafted. We agree, that's objective, right? It's flint, that's objective, right? But now, hafted flint hammerstones. Now we're getting a little subjective, because we really don't know if they were used as hammerstones. But when we look at the distal end, distal ends, and compare them to other types of hammerstones, we see they're identical. So we moved from uh, some objectives, a little bit subjective on the end, made some comparisons, and we can pull it back to objective. So now we call these hafted flint hammers. I just had a long discussion with a guy that is really sharp, and that was this week. And I asked him, I said, Jim, what are these? He goes, oh, these are fire starters. Okay, that's good. That's subjective. Why do you think objectively that they're fire starters? Well, one was found in a burial by tools and things that might be used in a fire. I said, okay, that's pretty subjective to me, but let me add to this. These are mostly the Ashtabula culture. The Ashtabula culture blended right into the Adena culture in Ohio. And if this was such a phenomenal discovery, fire starters, and it was revolutionary, wouldn't they pass that idea on to the next culture, which we see all the way from paleo to late woodland? You pass on the best of the best. There is zero evidence after the Ashtabula that they passed this technique on. So now we need to back up. We cannot make an objective statement that these are fire starters. We can't. You can at best be subjective, possibly. Now, if you're not confused yet, I promise you, you will be in a few minutes. I'm going to do my best. But this has to be talked about. And so let's come on over here and look at a few things. I pulled a little quarter out because I always like to have an idea about the size of things and how they work. So if I look at this piece right here, obviously we have a concavity, and we can see that this has been shaped. The objective part of this is a concretion. Okay, that's objective. Subjective would be this concretion was used as a finger bowl. We don't know if it was used as a finger bowl, but this has been altered. The lip has been altered and polished, and this came out of a fire pit, and this has been charcoaled, stained. All right. So moving this direction, we have another finger bowl. Objectively, it's a concretion. Objectively, it's a concretion with a concavity. And now it's kind of rounded, and we're moving from objective to subjective. I do think I see polishing here, and the inside is cleaned out real nicely. Subjectively, this may have been a finger bowl. Okay, let's look at this one. Objectively, it's a concretion with a concavity, but it's not as well defined as this one. So now, is this a finger bowl? And were these actually even used by their fingers? All subjective. But this does show polish, and it shows wear on the lip. And finally, this guy looks like sandstone. The type of concretions that we find all over east central and north central Ohio came out of the fire pit material down at the dig site that we're working on. And when it was in the sifter, it was full of sand. So we semi-recognized this lip, but that's it. And then when we got it out, looked at it, we're like, wait a minute, there's sand in there. So we started cleaning, and okay, now, objectively, we have a concretion with a hole in it. Subjectively, was a type of finger bowl that was in the process of being made. And they just hadn't completely removed the lip yet. You get the idea. Objective is what we know for a fact. Subjective is where we're headed. What it might be, could be, wanna be, should be, whatever. So I'm going to back up, keep you with me on this one. Looking at this rock and holding it, the weight tells me it's got a lot of iron in it. When we look at it, we can see that it's got a sandstone consistency, enough to say, well, it is a type of sandstone. And I know this is a higher quality sandstone in Ohio. So that's my objective comments. Objective comments. It's got a little bit of a concavity right here. Probably that's about as far as I can go. But subjectively now, I want to go a little bit further. On the bottom, I see what looks like removals that were intentionally. This is a current bump of the trowel, and when we were digging it out of the ground, but these are alterations on the bottom. Getting into the subjective world now. Alterations so that this would sit level. And you've heard this term from me before, tabletop rock. So now, here's my little table sitting on the top of my lap or my leg or log. Concavity. So now let's examine this concavity. And what I found as I examined it with my hand lens is that this has been polished off really nicely, that this has actually been articulated or geometrically done by the prehistoric people. They removed this for whatever reason. And inside, I find not just wannabes, but what is. And these are polishes. And this area in particular receives a heavy grinding and polish. So we start with the objective, and then as we try to get knowledge, we're moving out into the subjective world. And this is where we're headed today. This is a prehistoric Pleistocene 50-pound rabbit dropping. No, these are what I think a lot of you are finding, and we want to talk about this today. We'll do the best we can. So have fun. If you got a pencil or pen, grab it. You can come back and review the YouTube later. And I want to pause for a second. And to my dismay, in the last month, I've responded to 3 different people who have sent me pictures, email, and said, "What is this?" I said, first of all, a picture is 2-dimensional, and it's really tough to make a statement. It's hard to get from subjective to objective. And secondly, you're asking me just for an opinion. And thirdly, these things vary on regions of Ohio, let alone regions of the United States. So you want an opinion? I'll give you my opinion. But as a anthropologist, a field anthropologist or archaeologist, you want a consensus of opinions. So an opinion isn't saying this is this, it's just an opinion. So don't get mad at the person who's giving you their opinion. Look at it as information to taking you somewhere. Get another opinion, get another opinion. And these will help guide some of your thinking. And so sadly, I feel like these 3 people got angry for whatever reason, and I'm sorry. You got to get out of yourself, and you got to think about the science. You're trying to gather information. And I ask a lot of people, and I know I get so excited because I think I got this. I'm sure I have this. It's unusual. It's unique. It's a treasure. Wow. Look. And then someone says, nope, no, I don't think so. I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. So there's the discussion. It's okay to disagree. If you go outside and look at what's going on culturally on the streets of America, they are all screwed up. They are all screwed up. It is okay to disagree. It's okay to have a friendship and disagree. It's okay to have a relationship and agree that it's okay to disagree. That's reality, and that's the world I live in. So here we are. I'm sorry that 3 people were let down, but I've been let down before too. And after I get past my knee-jerk reaction and sit back and say, well, what were they saying? And why does everybody think this? Then I'm at a point where I get out of the emotions. I can step into the objectivity and say, okay, well, maybe. So here we go. This is what a lot of you have been asking me about. I'll sit them down here so you can get a little bit of an idea of the size that we're working with. And for me, I just call them round rocks. And until that is objective. These are round rocks, but we want to go somewhere. Are these just random round rocks? And a lot of you have them stacked in bowls, boxes under your table, carts in your garage. Until you know, you don't know. But when you're out there in the field, and I've told you, and I'm asking you, please collect, 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 and then clean later and gather opinions from people who are respectable, people that perhaps have been tried and proven that their opinions are pretty good. And then you can build on that. So let's take a look over here for a minute. I roughly discussed subjective versus objective. Objective is pretty much what is. Subjective is where we're going. This is a round rock. Okay, was this a shaped or sculpted round rock? Were they using it in clay vessels that they were bringing water to a boil, and they were in there rolling around, keeping stuff from sticking to the bottom of the bowl? See how I'm moving from objective to subjective? And this is, for me, this is the fun, the excitement, the thrill of field archaeology. And this is why I have so much fun talking to you guys. Later today, I'm going to meet with a guy from East Central Ohio. I'm going to look at his field collection. Been out there for over 20 years, and he's walking fields near my fields. So I'm really excited to see what he's got. So let's move from here down to context. This is probably it would be like not a Lincoln head penny, it'd be like a wheat penny. It's been around for a while, it's starting to wear from use, familiarity. And when we talk context, this is a major terminology, this is a major objective word, thought, concept that all of you should have in your heads by now. And context, does it belong there? Here I am out in my field and I'm finding these round stones. Do they belong here? Okay, and that's where you start. And then let's add to this patterns. Well, I'm finding these in fields, but I'm finding them where there's evidence of prehistoric man. I'm not finding them in the other parts of the field. Okay? Context. Does it belong? Now, am I finding them just where there's habitation, or am I finding them in a more concentrated area on a village site versus an overnight campsite? Am I finding them on a village site near hearths or fire pits? So what we're doing, we're starting objectively. We've got these round rocks. Subjectively, we think they might have been used as tools. Context, do they belong there? No. And we're seeing a pattern that these are showing up in your fields, wherever you're walking, but in areas where there might be more than just a moderate amount of prehistoric activity. It could be multicultural. It could be a multi-component site, and it could be across millennia. Are there alterations? Now we're getting specific. We're trying to move from objective into subjective and take subjective and make it objective. I know this is crazy stuff. It's probably more than I can handle, but stay with me. This is fun. Alterations. And so coming back over here, this is a concretion with a concavity. And loosely, we might be able to say, well, it might be prehistorically used. This came off a village site. It came from within inches of a hearth. Okay, now we're starting to get some outside information to put feet underneath this piece. If I compare it to this one, we said this came actually out of a fire pit and it's been affected by charcoal. And we can see that it not only has been altered, and you can see how it's straight across. Sometimes on the bottom, there'll be a little bit of polish or alteration where they can sit level like this. And the inside is cleaned out. These concretions usually are not cleaned out, baby bottom smooth like that, unless there's been a little bit of work done to them. So, and then we just move down the line to where this one, I think, maybe was on his way to becoming one of these. Don't know. I don't know. But this is a great find, and it deserves a front row seat in your field find collection. Okay, isn't this fun? Yeah, that's the whole idea of the YouTubes, is to get you thinking, get you comfortable with opinions, that you don't judge people, but you judge the comment. And I still love you. I care about you, and I care about you, and I respect the fact that you have 18 years in the field. I want your opinion. It's valuable to me. I may disagree, but it's valuable. Okay, so now patterns. We're only finding around rocks, or we're finding more of them near hearths or fire pits. Village sites versus campsites. On the village sites, near the major activity centers, perhaps some type of a shelter where they were living, and then around their hearth. Okay, patterns. And then we're going to alterations. Do we see where these have been altered in any way, shape, or form? Sometimes you'll see it, sometimes you won't. Let me grab another one of these round rocks. Already, I'm looking at this one, and the texture is very different. There's some pecking and some polishing going on here. When I look at it, it's got all kinds of planes on it, little planes, surfaces. This is a round rock. This is a round rock, but this one is beginning to become more round because they were working on it to make it round. Almost a clay-like rock. So let's have some fun. We look at alterations, and then I add mineral content. What is it made out of? And this is going to help me put feet under it as I take all this into consideration. Exotic. That's another word that I use often for color, shape, size, texture. Exotic. Is it from another part of your county? Is it from a different part of the state? Is it a glacial thing that was brought in and laying out there somewhere? Exotic. Something that just doesn't belong there. Size consideration. Are we finding most of these this size? Or are we finding most of these this size? Are we finding most of these this size? This size, beside a golf course. This size, this size. What's going on? What are we finding? So size consideration, and then always geofact versus artifact. Again, that's getting subjective. You're going to have to make a loose comment, a loose decision. Has this been altered by nature? And a lot of things that we find, a lot of things I find have been altered by nature, and they look so much like an artifact. So it is a good word. I love it. And I hope that all of you will use this in your living vocabulary from now on. Geofact, something that Mother Nature made that looks just like an artifact. A geofact can be picked up by a prehistoric person, brought to their campsite, set down, still a geofact. It has not been altered by that prehistoric person. If they picked up a rock, a geofact, brought it down, set it down, working around, and they pick it up, they start to polish it or grind it, geofact has now moved to artifact. Oh man, stay with me. So let's look at some of these round rocks. You're going to get different sizes, different mineral content, pattern. What is the mineral? Are most of these the same type of mineral content, or is there a wide variety? These are things that you'll be able to have check marks under them with the years of walking in fields, years of getting on good sites, and years of talking field archaeology with your friends, with your neighbors. And this is growth. I wish I could tell you people who've been out 2 or 3 or 4 years that, hey, this is easy stuff. It's not. Just trying to get you to realize what you need to pick up. That can be a real job. So round rocks, they can be ovate, they can be squished round, or they can be round. So I'm just going to look at some of this stuff. Round rock. It was picked up because it was semi-round. It was also picked up because of the color and the mineral content. A lot of iron in it. It came out of a county west of where I live, and I'm up in north central Ohio. We don't find a lot of hematite, but this site had a lot of Adena culture on it. So the Adena people did use a lot of hematite for perhaps red ochre or for whatever reasons. But all this, I cleaned it, I washed it, and then all of a sudden I could see polish. Well, this thing has been polished and ground, shaped. Was it polished or was it scraped to get ochre off of it, or just iron particles that will oxidize and then they get the red ochre? Round rock, okay? This one isn't so much round, but again, you've been in your field, you know your fields, you've been walking. This is not typically a stone that I would expect to find. It just doesn't look right. Exotic, okay, I don't think it belongs here. I'm going to pick it up. And so when I look him over, I can verify the fact that this is not only something that I haven't seen, but it is so polished that it is either river polished, glacial polished, or man polished. 1, 2, 3. Those are 3 things that you need to learn. The difference between river, man, or glacial polish, okay? But this one has been man polished, and the polishing marks, the evidence are on the rock. Not necessarily round, but coming this way now. And this, stay with me. We're going to go through these. This is sort of round, but you know what? It looks like quartz, but I've never seen quartz like this on any of my sites. This it was near a hearth. Exotic, just simply didn't belong. I picked him up for that reason, and as I looked at him, I began to find areas where there was some actual pecking going on with this rock. Do I know what the mineral content is? No, but it reminds me of quartz, but the color doesn't line up with all the quartz that I've found over the years. You're going to find a lot of what is it's, but you got to get yourself to the point where I may not know what it is, but I know enough to know that it is. And for that reason, it's going to get collected. Okay. Here's another little round dude. First of all, it came off a site, and the site is a multi-village site area. One of my friends that was walking with me can testify that because they lost their glasses in that field, and they're going to remember this field for a long time. But round rock, they all get picked up. And as I got home, I'm feeling it like it's got some iron in it, but it just looks like it's been altered. And then as I look at the alterations, I'm beginning to see polish marks around the outside of it. This has been a slightly altered round rock with some iron in it. Now I can go into more detail with it, but this moved from objective round rock, subjective. It's got some alterations, it's got some polish, and now it's moving back toward objective. It is an artifact for sure. Objectively, this is an artifact. This looks like a piece of sandstone, round shape, but it's thin. It's wafer thin. And the site that it came off of, this particular area is a very, very significant village site. And the sandstone outcroppings are probably a half a mile away. This is a secondary floodplain. Up high on the secondary floodplain where this piece came from, it's wafer shaped, round wafer shaped. So I picked them up. I said, I'll wash them later. And then when I washed them, I'm seeing polish where they're able to perfect this roundness. Now, do we know what they used it for? We're moving from objective to subjective. Well, could have been in a pot. Could have been there to help stuff not stick to the bottom of it. Don't know. We don't have any DNA. We can't get carbon-14 off of it. We know that this came off of a very, very serious village site. Round stone, round rock, but mineral content. And then let's look at him a little bit. And it looks like potato that's been in my fruit cellar all winter long. He's starting to get, starting to look like my great grandmother, you know. And but I know enough to know that I suspect it's hematite. So we pick him up objectively, round rock, looks like it might be hematite, not sure, take it home, clean him. Look at him, oh boy, looky here. Polish here. Is this on its way to becoming a cone? Don't know. Were they removing the iron to get the flakes to get it to oxide to use it for red ochre? Don't know. But we start out with round rock, okay? Round rock. Where was it? Where did we find it? What was the context? This was this was on a village site. It was near a hearth area where there was a lot of activity going on. Same field. I don't find these anywhere else in the field except where there's a lot of activity. And in most of the activities, they're village activities. See how I'm starting to put a story, a backstory together to help my subjectiveness to get now into objectivity. Round rock, these get picked up. Sometimes the alterations aren't obvious, or sometimes they're using a sandstone, much like you would if you're a woodworker. Your final phase of sanding is a sandstone that is so fine, you can't even see the grains, but the result with the wood is that you no longer see where they polish the wood. It's just perfect. So, artifact, sort of a round rock, but again, the color, it's because of the color and the fact that it's sort of round, and it came off a village site. I picked him up. And after taking him home, cleaning him up, for the most part, there's still some dirt areas on him. When I look him over now, I'm seeing some geometrics on this thing. Geometrics. Are these geometrics some fire damage? Some geometrics as the result of nature, a geofact, or the result of man? When we look at these, you'll see that these were actual grinding spots where they were getting the iron oxide. Okay, round rock. Ovate, right? And this came off of what I call a hot site. This secondary, between primary secondary floodplain, a multiple cultural village sites, lots of late woodland on this site. But this should be pretty much this color, but a lot of fire-cracked rock, lots of fire-cracked rock around this piece. Okay, see how I'm taking things to figure out context, try to put some feet under it. And then as I looked at it, I can see this has been polished. I'm looking at him, he's semi-flat here, he's kind of a little bit rounded here. Is this a roughly called a flat cone? Not typically the kind of cone you'd find in southern Ohio, but in my area, there were a lot of sandstone cones, flattish and high, a wide range of cones. But what I know is that it's circular and not real thick, a little bit of alterations to it, an artifact, a round rock. Okay, another round rock, a little bit squooshed, okay, ovate, and take him home, clean him up, look at him. To get this well done, you'll see that there's a little bit of pecking and shaping on the sides and a lot of grinding on both surfaces, okay? A round rock. A round rock. It looks like just a rock that's been tumbled in a stream or a river to me. Oh, wait a minute. Well, let's clean that out and take a look at it. And I know that you guys are finding a lot of these out in the field. Now we have to determine, is this a geofact or an artifact? Cleaned them out, use some really high tense magnification here. It looks like this area could have been a fossil. There is zero evidence of any pecking or polishing or sanding or grinding going on with this piece. This leans really strong to a geofact. It's in my collection because I wanted to show you a geofact, okay? Some more round rocks. This one, again, it's got the weight, it's got the color, it's got the context. It came off of a heavily used camp area adjacent to a village site. We're looking at a hematite once again, and we're seeing a lot of polish. I'm going to hold this, and maybe the camera can move around until you can see some of the polish on the bottom. There are planes that have been highly polished on this piece. Sometimes it's really hard to get you there with the camera. I guess you're just going to have to trust me. But this is hematite, once again. Let's compare it to this piece, another round piece. What do we got here? What? Two round pieces. What do we got here? Well, this is flint. And this is Coshocton flint, but lots of alterations. These are peck pound marks on this piece of flint, where it's pretty much almost lost its identity, where you can't even recognize it as flint anymore. This is maybe an expended, used up hammerstone. Let's look at the site that it came off of, or where I tend to find these. And I'm finding these closer to late woodland sites. Here's another one. This is quartz. And some of you, if you look at him real carefully, you'll recognize the quartz infrastructure on this piece. But it's round. And for that reason, it's going to get collected. Context. Village site. Hearth area. Late woodland. You know what? If you look at the artifacts that they were making, they're not going to be using giant hammerstones. They're going to be using very controllable, smaller tools like this. This is a quartz hammer. This is a flint hammer. Round stone tools. Oh my goodness, you guys. This is just an appetizer to what you're doing out in the field. I could actually say this is a round rock, very squished, very thin, flat bottom, round top. And so I picked him up. Why? Context. This doesn't belong where it was in the field. This belongs in streams. Okay, why is it up on a high secondary floodplain? More than likely, there was none other on the site like this. and I've mentioned this once before, going from objective to subjective. I'm looking at the color on these two sides, and I'm going to go slow because I want you to see the color change. One side, the other side. I feel like an optometrist. Is this better? Better now? better now. Okay, so I think, again, this is highly subjective, but they wrestled with all kinds of damp, colds, flus, whatever. Why not heat these up, put them on your chest, put them on your back, medicinal purposes? Don't know. Subjective. But what we do know is this needs to be collected because it didn't belong. Patience. You may not ever find out in your 10, 20, 50 years of field walking, but sooner or later, our technology is going to get to the point where we can say, this is this, that was that. So just having fun. I want to close here pretty quick. And I'm going to do it with, look at today's date on the video and come all the way over here. And you're going to notice that we moved from summer to early fall to now late fall. And I was out yesterday in a picked soybean field. And I thought, there probably won't be anything here, but I know it's a good site. And guess what? Debitage. I've washed it, but I haven't gone through it. Some things just leaped out at me as I was washing them. We have the proximal end of a piece, and I know that parallel lancelets have come out of this area. Okay, and we have another base of a piece that resembles possibly paleo. And I have a lot of paleo that came off of this ridge. It's a ridge that borders up a primary or first stage floodplain. Okay, this is, you know what this is. You know exactly what you're looking at. But I want to challenge you, go through your material, and every time you see one of these that you've collected, clean it. Go to the lateral corners and look at them. And you're going to see that nearly 100% of the time, they've been reused, resculpted, tools were made. And now that, as a result of this last Flint Napian that I was at, and I saw people making these at will, I realized that these were at will tools. The lip forms a very strong plane or a very strong edge that is not subject to breaking very easily. And if you have a specific need with a tool where you're going to put a lot of pressure, you can work on this lip edge. I call them overshots. And I know that technically some academics don't call them overshots. They have another name. If you get past my name, I like it. It works for me because it explains what's going over. The energy just kind of did an overshot, leaped off of it when this thing is being made. So that's that. Then you're going to get a lot of these uniface pieces. And I want you to take a look at this. This is different. This is not the overshot typically. This is what I call a rollover. And this is a face removal, a lenticular flake taken off of like a biface. Now I'm going to show you the biface may have been like this, and it might have been fairly thick right here. So they're going to remove this face. So they struck the face this way. The energy went through it, and it took a really strange dip, and it dropped down, and you lost your edge. And that's what's happening right here. Biface, they hit it to reduce this lenticular surface. Here it is. Here's the biface. Hit it here. Energy went through it, and it actually rolled down, and they lost part of their edge. Now, a lot of people tend to think that there's a strong association of this manufactured technique with the paleo people, late paleo. That's still being debated. But either way, I say these because I'm beginning to see now that these weren't discarded, that they were picked up and these were used as engravers oftentimes. Or you'll find, looking at these, you'll find an edge where they put an edge on it and they use it as a tool. They were pretty resourceful. A friend of mine hunts in the Akron, Canton area of Ohio, more toward Canton. And there's a group of friends, first names Tom, Mark, Suzanne, and they'll be quick to tell you that flint is pretty scarce in their area. And as a result of that, they were very conservative and they didn't toss or pitch things very quickly. They used it, they reused it, they reworked it. They were like your grandparents. During the Depression, something broke, they reworked it, they kept it, they saved everything. They saved everything. These are just some of the tools. I'm not going to go into them what they are, but these are some of the tools that came off the site. I'm going to have to go through all that stuff a piece at a time. So anyway, it's fall, late fall. You've got harvested fields. Don't sit in your cabin thinking, oh man, I got to wait till spring before I can get out. No, you can actually get out now as the crops are coming off. Get permission. Welcome to the world of round rocks, round rock tools. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really look forward to getting back with you. Field Archaeology 101. Until we see you again, get out and walk the fields.